I do. Unless they've done this good, it's significant amount of work in the background. Yeah. But. So I printed these, one of these for each applicant, because a lot of them are witnesses. Those are really good things.
Oh, you know what, I just printed this and I think I left it out.
Showed up at yours.
Right?
Is this the one that has the subdivisions or is this?
No, this
okay.
is the application checklist for home review.
Oh, okay.
What everybody should, and it's like, do you have this, you have that?
What's that?
Well, they,
Some notes. Actually.
Yeah, yeah, that's a yes, yeah.
So I can share them.
No, this is our
Good,
review.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it doesn't have to come back because that's not gonna. Do you see my comments?
Where are they in here?
Leah printed.
Oh.
Things that I hadn't done before.
Really?
Yeah. Something Indian or something.
I just emailed.
I
it.
know.
Oh, okay. Me?
Well,
But then it has dark hair, so I don't think.
but I was.
Is that my number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I share. Something's gotta be somebody.
Somebody, yeah. Yeah, we'll make it quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dog and dog.
Well,
Like,
it's in the red. They've, 3 trees there is a rendering, yeah, just here, so.
well, why can't,
We have.
we told them we can't get something between there and there.
Because there's some utility easement, and the easement's not shown on the plan.
Yeah.
But it's not shown on the plan.
Yeah, but those are there, so why can't they?
I don't know, well, it's like.
Yeah, are you ready on the call in? Yeah, okay. It's 7 o'clock. It's a meeting.
6:10.
It's- Yeah. Did I say 6?
No, it said so.
Let's go.
Feels like time.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's a meeting of the design review board. Tonight, we're hearing 2 different petitions. Petitioners, one being Spaceport, which is up at the Portsmouth Industrial Park on Highland Point Avenue. And the second one is Malkin Estates off of Bristol Ferry Road, which has been before us, I believe, before. Tonight, we have a forum. We have Phil Cox, who is a naval architect.
I'm not a naval, I'm a owner's project manager.
Okay,
Right,
sorry.
so naval architect, like, you know.
Leslie is a
I
landscape
apparently
architect.
changed jobs every time I come there.
Nick Avery is a historic landscape architect. I'm a general contractor, and Ray Abrams is a Portsmouth concerned citizen. So for the first petition tonight, who is here?
Engineer.
Engineer as well. Who is here to speak on behalf of the first petition?
I am Court Chappelle, our office is at 171 Chase Road, here on behalf of Spaceport. And I have both my engineer, Tommy Principe, and my architect, Matt.
Matthew McGeorge.
Here. It's a little bit cart before the horse, so I'm just gonna tell you the backstory, so you know. We went through development plan review, which is what the new state law allows us for, I guess for lack of a better term, one-term shopping. This requires a special use permit and required a small variance. And it required to go to the planning board because it's a building that's in excess of 5,000 square feet. You'll notice the building 196 by 80, comes out to some 15,000. 680. So it had to go for multiple reasons. So by going to development plan review, you get to do it all at once. It could have come to design review first. There was a little bit of a problem with scheduling. So we have gone to planning board and we have full approvals The caveat on the approval is we have, remember, it gets approved as like the same terminology as a major subdivision. There's master plan, preliminary plan, and final. We have master and preliminary. Final can be done administratively by vote of the planning board by Leah, and she'll be able to stamp it as soon as tomorrow if this comes through. What they did do, because it didn't go to design review first, was to say, please go to design review. And if there's any material issues with design review about the things that design review looks at, and there's some changes that would alter the decision of a special use permit or a variance, please come back to it. So it's a little bit cart before the horse. The reason it requires a special use permit is because of the historians here amongst us. It's in the limited light industry park. And when they passed limited light industry, they said all of those things that get a yes or a no in the town ordinance, forget those. Everything in the limited light industry park requires a special use permit because they wanted the limited park to be, in fact, limited industry. They did not want the manufacture of boats, the smell and those things. It is tucked in some of the residential neighborhoods. So it all has to do it. This is the perfect fit, according to not only us, but according to the planning board, according to everybody, for a limited light industry. It is the wholesale storage. Spaceport is the owner. Either they or their subsidiaries own 7 or 8 restaurants. They're not the Heritage Group, not the Newport Restaurant Group, the group. And it includes Midtown Oyster, includes some other bars and restaurants that you know well. They have the things like the storage of their summer materials. They have buying power of being able to store refrigerated units of, buying quantities of things. And each of these units basically in this large building are all under one umbrella, but are designed to be sanctioned with separate doors for the separate entities. The testimony was that there's no outside storage. The testimony was that because it's private storage, it's a trip a day type of thing. There's not employees that are working there full time. It's opening the doors to get in, opening the doors to get out. There's no storage of hazardous materials other than would, be put in some standard locker to the extent there's cleaners and things. So it was used for limited light industry. It was well received at the planning board. I think I know the neighbors here, so I don't know there's anybody here that's for this petition, but for the second one, and nobody showed up at the planning board to object, and it did pass unanimously. So as we explained to our clients, it goes to design review, mainly focused on materials, quality of building, integrity of the building, how it fits into not only the comp plan, but into the landscape of the limited light industry park, some of those buildings, as you probably would guess, may have been built before design review, some of those after. There's some buildings that kind of still have the old metal factory building that we were all trying to avoid, and there's some others that have been done since design review that have been better. So I'll take Tommy through a little bit of testimony just so you know about the site, but again, all of that's been approved. Remember also that we go to technical review committee now, so your police department is signed off, your fire department is signed off, your water department is signed off, as well as the Department of Public Works. There was an evolution that you didn't see. That evolution now requires a fire road all the way around it. We had landscaping all the way around it, but the fire department, as you know, has a requirement that they would like to have their fire apparatus touch as many portions of the building as possible. We had recommended that we opened up just a little bit in the front and in the back. The fire chief insisted it went around. That was some of the landscaping between the two parcels. Tommy's going to tell you the challenges of the site. It's 2.37 acres, but there's wetlands on it. And more importantly, forget it. I don't think a cliff is right, but there's a heavy grade difference on this land. And that's probably why it's the last vacant lot left in the industrial park, because it was the most challenging site to build. The single variance that we got when we were at the planning board is unique as well, because in a light industry area in town, you only need to be a 30-foot setback. But in the limited light industry, when they put together this park, it was a little controversial when they did the park, they had 50-foot setbacks. So you have a 50-foot setback for an unrestricted industry. And you have a 30-foot setback all over town for an unrestricted industry, and 50 feet where it's restricted to things that are by definition not going to bother neighbors. So there have been some variances granted before, and the planning board saw fit to grant that variance. It's still 30 feet away, which meets the town ordinance everywhere else in town. It was just a 20-foot deviation from the 50-foot setback. Other than that, it's a large single-story building with a mezzanine. It required no height variance. You can have 30 feet down there. It's 28 or something. The parking requirements for storage are certainly less stringent than they are for office space. You have 0.75 per 1,000 square feet. We met all of that. We met the parking. We met the fire lanes. There's an area for the dumpster. Everything was fine without variance, except that we pushed it a little up the hill because of some grading challenges. And by putting it up the hill and putting the road that the fire department wanted in the back, most of the flat area available for landscaping is in fact impervious pavement. Porous pervious pavement, because that was in the calculations. The two large areas on the water drainage were taken care of, the two large basins that you see that drain not only the parking areas, but the roof gutters that all run into those. We had to file a full pervious maintenance pavement plan. As you know, that stuff has to thoroughly be vacuumed out, cleaned, so it keeps its integrity as porous material. And that's really about the extent of the engineering portion, but Tommy is here with any questions you may have.
What's the right of way on the front? Is it? Maybe not the right of way.
The frontage?
Yeah. Like this is the,
Right,
I mean, like from the edges. I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah, 113.73 feet of frontage.
Oh, because I'm just wondering, because you guys said that there wasn't room to put trees because of the utilities, but it looks like there's enough space to put something on the inside, which is the telephone and the platform.
Yeah, because you didn't show it, you didn't show the utility easement. Is there a utility easement on the front street?
That's what.
Not a utility easement, it's High Point Ave, and then it just becomes our property. The utility easement off to the right-hand side.
Okay,
Which is
so why
the-
can't you put trees along High Point Ave?
Well, so if you look at the plans and the grading, we are actually using all that for grading for our basin
Yeah,
and then our entrance, and then we have our fire access road as well. So it's actually not much room to do any planting up in the front. It's all gonna be graded.
I mean, could you
it
like,
looks like you got plenty of room there.
could you just like
Oh, honestly, I mean,
reconfigure this slightly to get, I mean.
not with the
like,
minimum grades
does
that
it
we
look
need.
like the telephone wire, I mean,
Mhm.
if you could get something up there.
Staying off a High Point, I mean, with the shoulder is about 10 feet wide. Obviously, that's town property. But when it comes to our property, we're grading from our property line
Yeah.
to the basin itself.
How about this is weird because the north is actually the south. How about
Yeah,
along this
north.
side? Can you put trees along there?
Well, so that's the easement in here. So if you look at the existing additions plan, it's a 20-foot easement in here that we want to stay out of. We can't do any planting in
Cause
there.
like some of the other people on the street have them in the front, is it just cause it's on the curb or something?
Yeah, this is a very difficult site, right? And it's a 20-foot grade change from right to left, sloping down to the wetland. So, you know, working with the architect on this, this building's cut into the hill.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why it's like a walkout here. So even grading this basin, I've got like a 3 or 4 foot grade change here on the basin. Usually I like to keep this as flat as
Yeah.
possible.
Mhm.
And then we have all these contour lines because we're holding this grade up high. And then we're coming in on the low point as well. And then I've got all these other contour lines down in here because we're trying to cut that grade and keep our minimum slopes. And I also have staggered retaining walls in here to hit that grade. So it's definitely a challenging site. So for planting, I mean, I can't say that we can't put the tree in there, but
I
it's
think you should.
very challenging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, just.
Well, I will say, and I'll ask Tommy,
Yeah.
before when this was done with the calculations without the fire lane,
Mhm.
the front basin was smaller.
Yes,
And the plan had the landscape architect and trees in there.
right.
Unfortunately, when we couldn't get the fire department to do the variance, they wanted that. Even though it's porous, there's still a formula that required that basin to be bigger.
Mhm.
And that basin got pushed all the way to the property line
Mhm.
and had the depth, and that was discussed at the planning board going, you understand? I'm going to design review and
Mhm.
now this basin there.
Mhm.
My understanding is a rule that says on that basin, you're not supposed to plant on the side of it, right?
Well, it's just a slope. It's
Yeah,
it's tough to
slope,
plant a
yeah.
tree on a side slope.
They can do
It's not.
shrubs.
What's this flat area? Right here, this,
Yeah.
what is that? Cause I
Here.
was.
Oh, that's the overflow. That's the overflow.
So that goes down in grade.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Yep,
'Cause
that's
I mean,
correct.
I don't know, like, I was just like, if you could get something in here, and then
Mhm.
I know, Matthew had these
Like even the
here,
renderings has
and I
three
think that
trees
would make
adjacent to
a-
the building that
that
now
would be a
not-
good
You're right.
spot for it,
Mhm.
They were all there.
Mhm.
But
you know?
now the question is, if you can fit some, especially like
Yeah,
Yeah.
square it on the sides of the driveways, then we don't have any objection to that.
And
They
like
were
put them
clearly
back
in the
in front
budget.
of the building, cause I
Mhm.
thought that would be like a helpful, alternative.
Mhm.
so I think
Yeah, I
this
think
seems,
it could go in front of the
backwards, 'cause
building.
usually you guys come to us first and then
I know.
planning and zoning.
Mhm.
So it seems like it almost seems like you're circumventing this just to go, see, we're approved,
No,
we're good
no.
to go.
But we're not sitting here saying that, right?
Okay,
Because it's not our style. But it didn't happen because we said, let's huddle up and
Okay.
skip the design review and go to planning board
So-
first.
I printed the
There was a
application
problem in
checklist
scheduling.
for you guys, so which includes the application form, but also no written descriptions on this.
Like, where's the materials?
The site plans, there's no like what materials are you using?
What lighting?
Is there a lighting plan?
I mean, I
Where
see the
is,
lighting around.
where's your transformer located
logo.
on the site?
You know that, Tony?
That's for National Grid
So-
to decide.
We brought
No,
our,
it's
The
it's
building
for the
light.
engineer to
No, the
decide.
transformer, National Grid does that.
No, the
We have-
engineer can place it, and if you read the design guidelines, it says we try to place them not in the front, but in the back. If you
Never
can.
works out. Never works out. I can put a box on it, never, not once in my
Well,
engineering.
then you need to work with National Grid. You
catastrophic.
need to give them
What's
a
that?
call.
We just had a catastrophic issue with the transformer.
Yeah, it's
They
ridiculous.
completely
There's
nixed.
So I don't even try it anymore. I
Well,
don't
what-
put it on there.
What the-
There's monkeys on the road that National Grid has been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. it's
I've
been
had
fixed,
pretty good
yeah.
look with National Grid. I'm doing a project
Yeah.
on,
What did they?
on
give
West
us?
Main Road right now, and I can call them and I'll give you his cell phone number if you want, but it's not even on the plan, and it's supposed to. There's no site lighting on the plan. So how are we supposed to review it?
there's no site.
We're
lighting
not doing any
proposed.
site lighting.
Oh, but on the rendering there was.
Well, again, the rendering was originally done prior to that. There's the
Okay,
lighting.
but
that-
here's the
there's
conflicts that
there's
we're
the
trying to look at.
building lighting.
We're trying to do design review, and here's two different conflicting aspects of it. So gonna get your act together when you come here and say,
Okay, again,
oh yeah, we're good to go. But there's the checklist. We just go by the checklist, and there's a ton of things missing off.
but some getting our act together, the planning board, your advisory to the planning board. And the planning board happened to see it first. And the planning board was was told about the options of things like the fire department requiring that. And the plan with the trees and now the plan without the trees. And there was discussions on lighting there. There is no exterior parking lighting. There is only building, lighting that,
Yeah, we can provide a site photometric with all the building lighting.
right?
Yeah, cause I mean, anything, even if it's on the building, we like to know what it looks
Yeah.
like, how
There's no
bright it
materials
is,
provided. It
there's no
seems like you
materials.
just showed up and go,
like,
we're good.
That's not what happened, but
Here's the checklist. Like, that's all we ask. Go through the checklist. Have you provided everything to us? I don't know.
well, I know the lighting plan was requested and then it turned out there were no exterior lightings other than and we talked, I don't know if you're ready to do.
Then why do you
that,
give
but
us renderings that don't meet what you're gonna actually do?
You want
Do you want me to be honest?
to? Yes, but we want you also,
We generated these renderings in April of 2024,
Okay,
and we're involved at a tertiary level while the planning board, the site planning, the grading, the fire lane work was being developed. I got a call this morning at 10 o'clock about this hearing that I hadn't heard of, so.
Okay,
I understand. I mean, the material, it's about as similar building, just as, you know, it's a
Well, like. you know,
barns building,
the-
pre-engineered metal building. It's gonna be, you
right,
know,
what's like,
standing
what's the,
seam.
is that reclaimed wood on it? It's like,
No, but, yeah, but
again,
we can
that's
provide
why,
the site
that's why you're
photometrics.
here, right?
Right.
We do a design review and we don't have the information to do our job, so. Like. That's it.
Well, what are the materials on that wood
Well,
facade?
It's to be determined. We're still working with the owner, but it's intended to be an aluminum cladding system, rain screen system with standing seam metal siding from the building manufacturer, black anodized aluminum window frames, insulated glazing. We're working, I wrote a letter to the building official confirming the grace period for energy code to 2025 would be granted, considering this project is older and we might not hit the February 15th submission period. So the foundation, what would have been a cast in place concrete foundation wall could be an ephes or a stucco finish on the exterior, depending on how that's enforced.
Have you read our design guides? Do we discourage ephes?
I understand that, but under the old energy code, it wouldn't be required. So if all of a sudden they are going to enforce that despite our request for them not to, we may need to investigate other options. So that's where we are right now. I haven't gotten a response from the building inspector. I sent that email in mid-December.
It would really have been helpful to have a materials list.
I
Everyone
understand.
For us, in other words, the wood that's there, what is it? Who's the building manufacturer?
Why don't you
Right now,
take that with you?
right now, we're working on executing contract with manufacturers. We don't have executed contracts with suppliers. So Barnes Buildings, you know, Marty Barnes, he's done a lot of work in the region. He's the person that we're working with currently to establish the final structural system so that we can get reactions to the structural engineer to finalize the foundation designs.
I mean, really, like, just calling it out on this kind of elevation is usually what we, just having all the materials listed,
Yeah,
so we know what's going on, and so we can say yes, no.
because this goes back over 20 years. We're trying to get away from what at the time was Matt Kluge's building, the first tradesman centers up there.
Big old metal boxes.
Big old metal boxes right on the highway, which this is visible from 24 as well. And from where his sheets ended, 3 feet down was just concrete foundation, and it looked awful. Well, that's what started this whole board, that and Tom's Lawn and Garden, the bright green building. So having exposed concrete on the right-hand side of the building, having exposed PMB panels that you could see.
Like the blanket, like letter from the landscape architect. No, I don't think we need to do that. It's like,
Canopies over the doors would be nice, that we have down lighting as you walk in. Metallica is the big manufacturer for those. They sell to all manufacturers. So there's some things like that that we normally would like to see. Flat roofs, you can't really do too much about. It's not like you can put up a parapet up there. The one thing that is kind of bad about the Car Palace is you can see all of their RTUs as you drive by every single time you go there.
which is right in their design guides too.
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
how
I
do you
remember
screen it?
when that happened.
So there's no mechanical on this. We don't know where are they gonna go? I think it needs some work, and then we'll see it again.
I know, where you've got basin F, is that a utility basement or what is that?
A detention basin,
It's a what?
stormwater.
All right.
Stormwater.
You also show on your drawing here that your water's across the street,
Mhm.
and you plan to bring your water in up by the fire access road, I believe. That means you're gonna have to take it from the valve diagonally across the street, make a cut in that, big cut in that street. Is that?
Yeah, we talked to Portsmouth Water about that. I think they can missile underneath that road because Brian at DPW, I don't think we could touch that for a couple of years because they just paved it.
There's a moratorium, a balance of
So
moratorium on that.
luckily for the client, it's in the shoulder on the other side.
Right,
So-
it is, and there's a
Yeah.
valve over there too,
Directional
that you
drilling
would
on it.
normally use to tap in, but it's gonna, say if you're gonna take it up your access road, that's a long run. there across, opening a road up. Also, you've got Rhode Island Energy has shown that, I guess your utilities are gonna be underground.
Mhm.
And Rhode Island Energy has been there. Do you have any idea what, the power that this building's going to consume?
I don't have that information, no. I don't know if Matt has that.
Right now, we're talking about 1,000 amp service. The latest
1,000 amp.
conversation we have is 1,000 amp
1,000
service.
Another thing, I noticed when I walked the property there, and it's not on the drawing, so you've got a rock garden out there about 60 feet back going across it. There's some rocks growing and there's some big rocks there already, plus the perk pipe is in the middle of a clump of, birch trees with the bottom was broken and it's, I don't think you haven't perked the area you claim you're going to yet, which is.
Are you talking
So I
about?
thought we had our
India?
DM approval.
Yeah,
Or are you talking about
we
here?
do, I'm not sure.
I don't know if it's if somebody just went in and pounded a pipe in there for you or what.
Again, actually, we weren't the ones that started the engineering on this. We just took it over. From, it was actually
Yeah,
Mark
it's
Holt
been
who
there.
started the
Don't we
testing.
have all the DM?
But we do, but yeah, the answer.
All the
I don't know.
DM permits are already issued.
Yeah, on the
So those
wetlands
pipes
over
were, the
Yeah, but
wetlands have been
septic,
flagged.
wetlands,
Well,
Ripty,
they had to have
stormwater.
full site.
Geotech is all
Matt,
done.
and I'm just asking out of
Yeah.
curiosity.
Right, but
Because this hasn't been perked where you're gonna have your septic system.
I don't think they can
According
approve
to
a
DEM and
system.
according to the previous testing, it was burnt where.
The one
it's
you looked at
proposed.
might not be the one, but I
Right.
don't believe you
I
can
hope it's
approve
not-
the
I hope it's
system
not true.
Yeah, there's multiple
unless
pipes
there
out
is
there.
approved pit and
There's-
test within X feet, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
within 20, you
They
need
probably
to
did
test within
multiple
25
ones
feet.
when they were doing the initial.
Hmm? Yeah.
Initial ones, so
It might have been graded a little afterwards.
they just gotta find one that works
Yeah.
with them.
So you said there was an original landscape plan before?
Yes,
Okay, so-
before we went through with the TRC and the fire department and all the other
Yeah.
departments itself, we adjusted it that way, yes.
I mean,
So-
I understand like this could just be trees because obviously there's no real place to have plants
Yep.
because it doesn't look, I mean, this is like sidewalk and this is driveway.
Yep.
But I mean, yeah, like I would just think like around the sign that's in the grass, if that, is
Mhm.
that over here somewhere?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
Well, it's not even
still
on the
happening?
plan,
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's
So I mean,
like,
if there's a sign out here,
Mhm.
it'd be nice to have some plantings around it. And if you can get trees somehow in here, that'd be great.
Mhm.
And if you can get it maybe like
We could
between
put one in
here.
the corner for sure.
Yeah,
yeah, so I think you need a landscape architect to look at this and then when you come back, we'll do the other.
We did.
Yeah, well, you sent a letter saying, I think you want a variance from it. Um, Our recommendation is that
you gotta have
We-
something.
you
I mean,
gotta have, it's,
like even
it's
if
required.
like you can get these trees up against the building again, like that, I think that looked nice the way it was. And have something on the corner. And if you can get them in here, you know, I know the utilities are in the way. I know we've had this problem before. But it just seems like there's gotta be a little
Yeah, I
something.
think we need transformers, locations, we need,
RTUs.
yeah, utilities. Are you gonna put anything on the roof? If you are, they need to be screened.
Something with the foundation. We can't
You
have
know,
exposed
materials,
concrete.
we don't know what the
above the
materials are gonna be. We'd like to know that.
This is such a visible project. Thousands of people drive by it every day.
Yeah,
Yes, sir, sir.
What's your next step then? You were hoping, obviously, for tonight, but I'm not saying if you couldn't get stuff back together, we wouldn't delay it another month, like put together a forum.
Mhm.
I know it puts the pressure on the architect and
Right.
Tom, but
But we'll get the information before I call and ask you to get together early.
Yeah.
I can get it to you in the next 5 or 10 days and you do it early, thank you. But if it's gonna be 25 days to get it, we might as well just go and get the next month and
well,
in the ordinary report. But we don't have anything else on the agenda.
they're all local.
yeah, I know it's been slow.
I know. And that was part of the reason that we didn't have when it was scheduled back automatically during the day,
Right. It would just be nice not to, I mean, again, visible, seeing concrete, seeing the metal siding from 24, wrapping that in, a description of the wood and what it looks like. I mean, there's so many buildings. Things that have different designs that could dress this up a little bit, and then do something, canopies, color coordinate the doors so they not white against a bunch of different colors. So.
Sorry?
I'm gonna tell you, I think that to I think Joe was like, that's not true. Let's talk to the. Yeah. And it would be his cars in the one half, there's the Mizek wall. And the
It's-
faux-
Yeah, I mean, so to describe the building, I guess, into the 2/3, 1/3, it's basically divided into 3/5,
Yeah.
the 2/5, and, but yeah, everything that you said about the storage, some of the restaurant storage, personal storage.
Yeah.
Mezzanines that possible in the future, which is the only reason the egress is out the rear because of, exit remoteness issues, building code
Did
compliance.
you buy Car Palace?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Did Nick buy Car Palace?
I thought that's our drain. This isn't our drain.
No.
Oh, it is not.
No,
No.
I say, no, this is, Larry Phillips.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, the only, the restaurants that are left that aren't our drains.
Yeah.
We're the other guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Might explain the lower budget that you thought we might have had. But
That's okay. Well, you got the checklist. If you could just go through the checklist, give us a narrative, go find finishes. Where,
you need specific manufacturers. 'Cause I know the discussion of
We need to
wood
have a
grain
conversation, is
was,
what we need to have.
Yeah.
yeah, was a high end. But it's all composite now, it's
Right.
not our mother's vinyl siding. I don't know if they make that. I'm sure you can search for it, but,
Insulated panels, it looks so much better.
but there's some higher end composites now that are quite frankly twice as much as red cedar and half the maintenance.
yeah, there's not many lots left in Portsmouth, so we want to make them all look good. Because we're gonna have to live with them for the next 100 years, 50 years, whatever the building lasts.
Yeah.
It's gonna look
I'm not sure I'm living with them for the next
Maybe not
100
those three.
Yeah, I've lived with
But
them
we
the
don't
last
want,
60.
we don't want the big old ugly metal boxes with no landscaping.
No, I actually thought this was a pretty good looking building. I get you, we need to see
Well, we
the
don't-
materials.
No,
We don't know,
Yeah.
because we don't know what the materials are.
We
so-
know, well, we know what it's not.
Oh, one handicap
pretty
spot,
good-
you're gonna need two. Yep,
We have plenty of space.
yeah, no.
You'll put it on a hill.
No,
Okay.
1%.
Yeah,
It's all
that's
great.
The white
Yeah.
Porsche is, I think.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
So is there a motion to continue, what's the continuation or?
Well, they don't continue, will be, but without application, they'll call and schedule and get a quorum based on when we have.
Yeah, if you get the
Things
additional
together.
data, just let Leah know and we will reschedule another meeting.
It's a six, we're down to 6 members on the board. We can get three of us together.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. And I'm not going anywhere soon, so, if you need 2 weeks in court.
Yeah.
And it's good with town hall.
I'm not sure how many trees we'll be able to get in, but we will task her to
Talk to Karen.
put them in and, ones in front of the building, just so you know, at the industrial park, we're being topped in other places because of the solar going on the roofs.
When you look at,
Oh,
when you look at
just
plans
Yeah,
too, just
this
let
one's
us know
30.
how many are coming
Yeah,
out.
the other
You
building,
should have a
I
survey.
think they,
Like, there's at least 3 big trees coming out.
I mean, there's a bunch of stuff in the back, it looks
Yeah.
like,
yeah,
I mean, that's not in the wetland.
yeah, we should have a good buffer from every angle but the street, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the common driveway, we could almost use the common driveway from the property above, but fire department didn't want us to
Mhm.
hang over the property line.
Right.
Yeah.
And wanted us to be able to drive around, which got rid of that whole
Yeah.
plan over there and the impervious. All right,
Thank you.
Hey,
Thanks.
thanks, guys.
Thank you.
that was the easy one.
Anyone need a break? I know it's only been 35 minutes, but. Ready to,
Speaking rock and roll.
Yeah.
rock and roll, keep it going. Bill, do you have a sheet for the next?
It's on my email.
Yeah, I know.
It's not as bad though,
No,
right?
I know.
Cause like,
Yeah.
but we still didn't get, materials and
Yeah,
no
we get the
finish
landscape plan.
schedule, a list of list of materials. I'll leave you to the landscape,
Yeah, we get the landscape.
right?
Pretty good phrase. Nice diversity.
It better be a pretty good
Yeah.
picture.
Although, again, drawn by architects, it shows landscaping and fences different because you get one company to do the transition for the building.
Coordination, imagine that.
Hmm.
Too hard to do.
Mm.
I started doing that. and then
Well,
I
I
started-
always used to do nice pencil sketches when I wanted. to-
I'm not.
Well, it's pretty flat, isn't it?
Well,
There.
yeah.
It's just.
Oh,
that's what we're walking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not wrong.
I'm
No?
wondering if
Oh.
that's
I
the-
don't think this would.
Yeah.
it's all drained.
Oh, you mean all this
Yeah.
stuff is gonna come out into there?
Getting into the- so,
Yeah. We didn't do that.
You wanna see the pretty picture, Brett?
the great thing, this is catching what? Just what's here?
Yeah, just exactly right.
And
Yep,
then this is all going into these?
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
So is this,
It's all sloping from
I'm
front
just
to
wondering,
back.
is this gonna be a problem with the neighbors washing into their yards? Would there be something at the bottom here?
Well, we're gonna do landscaping in there.
But I mean, like at the water, I'm just,
Oh, no, it's catching everything. No, all those roofs, everything is going into these. There's not any water that,
okay, so back here though, these grades.
yeah, I gotta show, it's probably a line.
Why don't we
so
save the
it's all gonna
questions
get
until we get going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go to on this.
Let's,
Yeah, that's,
let's bring it back to,
Exactly.
to the
All right,
table.
sorry, rewind.
Coordination.
Get going with our second petitioner. Maitland's Estate.
But it's,
Christopher Ferry Road.
Sign in.
And do we have somebody here this evening to speak to that?
Okay, tie
petition?
it in.
We do.
Tie it in.
Bill, on behalf of
Tie it
Elkin
in.
Estate,
So I gotta-
Tiverton Investment LLC. So this one has not gone to the planning board. It goes Thursday night.
Ah, so it did the right thing. Come to us first.
Leah, you gotta defend me one of these times. I'm gonna say you tried.
I did try, but some of the
We tried. Yeah. I'm the,
collaborative effort on my part, his part,
All right,
I am partly to blame.
that's okay.
so
I take
I
blame.
won't fire you. You did a good job.
brief overview.
Yeah.
So,
Some of it's his fault over there.
Always.
All right.
so this is a 2.5 acre parcel off of Bristol Ferry. You may not have it, but took the liberty of printing the Google map. So for the landscapers, identifying the trees to come down, not a lot to come down.
Right.
You'll see 2 or 3 to come down. It's
And it was on the
based-
plan, so you did a good job on the plan. I got these trees are coming down. Great.
See why I yell at you, Dave? Sometimes you yell and people listen, it's like children.
Yeah.
Some listen better than others.
You show up to these often enough and you learn what we're looking at, right?
So, but you're gonna learn, I know, in one case and not in the other, so that might give you hints on some of the things.
The sunblock
This
really
is,
bother me.
this is the,
Huh?
he's got bad eyes. We did all of this in every room with lights off or sunglasses in for medical conditions. But this is, the site, and I just wanted to show you, one, that there's a fairly substantial perimeter buffer around a bunch of the areas, and you can see where there's gaps. So when we get to landscaping, we have that. We did the artist renditions that are in front of you to show the type of the buildings. There's 4 buildings that are all the same. They are all 2-unit buildings. So there's 8 units total on 2.5 acres. We require no variances for density. We require no variances for the setbacks to property lines. We maintain the full setbacks and in fact augmented them for an R20 district, which is what it is, residential 20.
There's distance between buildings.
Right, so it historically, there's gonna be some to say that our ordinance gets a little archaic in that. What's happening in all of the conservation districts and in all of the ordinances now is to try to say, leave some open space and put the buildings closer together. Instead of the old days where let's go to Little Compton, make 2 acre zoning and let's everybody pop a house and use up 2 acres. So it's more concentrated and looking for some more open areas. But that required, there's two things in our Article 7. One is that buildings be 100 feet apart. Remember, it's the apartment ordinance. It's not designated for duplexes. Apartments in the same paragraph says no apartment building will be greater than 500 feet without a facade. So we have an apartment building, even though we don't really have any apartments in the town. And if you had two big buildings like that, they want them 100 feet apart and they want them 55 feet from the center of internal roadways or driveways because that makes sense. Houses with 55-foot driveways don't really make sense. Duplexes are allowed in R20, and ironically, we could do a conventional subdivision, cut this up into 4 lots and put 4 duplexes on it. And with accessory dwellings, God knows what you can do with some of the new stuff. But these are modeled a little bit just for a high-end condominium, not so different from your Oakland Farms, from your Pondview Estates and things that are just seem to be a very good product for town. As we said to the neighbors in an informational meeting, the nice thing about sometimes condominiums is, yes, they look alike, but you get that clean continuity. You get a set of rules that says we can't do this in the driveways and we can't do that. It's all maintained and cut and plowed, all by an association. Most of your condos that we know about, if you think about them, no one is complaining that they're loud. No one is complaining that they're unkept. The design you're going to hear is generally a single-story mature living. Think of all of us. The biggest problem I believe I have with whether I die in my house is that my bedrooms are all upstairs. These have a master bedroom on the first floor, and they're all single-story except the garage. They all have garages because we want our cars off of the road, and there is a stairway from the garage, what we call a bonus room in other places. And in that bonus room is a bedroom, a bathroom, and a small sitting area, designed so that we, when we get older, are going to have our nice single family living. When I bring my kids over, they can go over the garage. There is no separate entrance. It is not a duplex. Condominium association doesn't allow you by rules to rent it out. Okay, so it's not an Airbnb.
What's the total height outside? 23 feet.
Just on the garage units, the rest are substantially lower and single family living. So we have the designer here, so we'll talk about the buildings first, and then I'll go into landscaping, if you will. But Tommy has the general layout of the plan. Note that there's no unlike the other one, there's no drainage and retention ponds. They are the system, the galley, so it looks like lawn. Like a green space. So all of that green can have trees over it for the common septic area that you'll see, as well as the 2 large drainage areas. That's all nice maintained grass.
Yeah, one thing we need to note is just on the architectural plans, we are gonna have gutters, just for the disclaimer, as we discussed earlier.
And that fence
So-
was drawn by our architect, and that was pointed out in a neighborhood meeting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll begin by, Bristol Ferry is a traffic sensitive area, so we only have a choice, whether we like it or not, of a single entrance onto Bristol Ferry. There is a single entrance, and it's pushed all the way to that side that you can see. We pushed it to one side so it wouldn't be long and straight with a turnaround. We wanted the look from Bristol Ferry of it being a winding road. And when we talk about landscape, you'll see the 4 red maples that do exactly what your ordinance says we should do from a street view. So, okay. To the right there is that rain garden, or what's the?
Yeah, it's a bioretention.
Bioretention area.
system that's
It's
planted.
shallow, not designed to hold water, less than 18 inches by
Yep.
statute, right?
It's only 12 inches.
Yeah. So that's just an area, but that area is allowed to be planted. And when we talk about the landscape plans, you'll see that. All of this, if I were to hold this picture up, this is the front of the building. So unlike some of those of us familiar with, Crystal Ferry, very nice duplexes, very nice, very nice area. But the garage doors in the front give that the appearance of everybody parking in the front, and you don't have a really kind of great looking front yard. These garages all load from the side, and the fronts, even though the front is the street, they all load from the side, so they act as the front yard from there, which we thought was a pretty good amenity. They're identical in size on the unit 1 and unit 2. And it's just that middle area between the two buildings that is cut horizontal.
Are you gonna fence the property?
That's what I said, we had this drawn with the fence, and it came up at the meeting that we're not. The goal, I'll move the landscaping, but the goal was to take advantage of the very mature trees that seem to go almost all the way around, to augment where it doesn't, and to leave every natural tree that arborist doesn't say has to be removed for disease. There's apparently a grove of bamboo that is not only invasive onto our property, but that has to be removed. And once that's removed, it may create an empty spot that will need to be augmented. That augments on those, I think we used red cedars, if I recall, but we'll get back to that. So first, as to the design, I'll have them testify about the specific materials, but we are at cedar shingles. We are at the black windows that I'm sure are high end, but I'll have them tell you. The accent roofs and porticos have black metal roofing, with the main roofs being architectural shingles.
Okay.
So with woven corners.
Natural cedar, not,
Yeah, white or red cedar on the shingle.
I was thinking it would be white cedar shingles.
yeah, skipped, okay, yep. No corner boards, just weave corners.
Weaved corners.
So that's generally the building materials from the outside. There is, for a lighting plan, again, maybe the absence of a lighting plan, there is specifically no street lights
Mhm.
and no illumination at the entry. We did draw a single sign with an external solar spot just to, so people can see it. But that sign requires no variance. It's actually smaller than the town allows. Town has a square footage on these things. But it's just a sign so that people can see the driveway and get in.
Does it have a road name or no?
Fire department has to have a little bit to do with that, so we'll check that. It is a private drive, though. It's not a
Okay.
public road, and understand it does not, by design, give any easements or rights to tie into Cherokee or any of the
Mhm.
roads around it.
Mhm.
Might be better for the neighborhood to be private, but certainly the neighbors don't like cut throughs all the
Mhm.
time, especially
Yeah.
So that's just one way in, one way out.
one way in, one way out. They're not connected. They're not connected.
And I live on Bristol Ferry Road, because of the bridge and everything, I have a hard time getting out of my driveway. I live at 481, right on the corner of Cherokee.
Mhm.
All that traffic there, bridge, I was in accident, so ain't getting out, sometimes I have to wait. I have to go through my lawn, go out the back way, go to 24. Sometimes I wanna get out right away. No, I just sit there. The
I'm-
cars are bumper to bumper, well, they don't move. You can't move, they're bumper to bumper.
Especially down closer to the bridge where you
Yeah,
get in
like
all
that's
that
what I mean.
stacking when there's a problem on the bridge.
It
And the
was
reason I'm
24.
not disagreeing with you is because I live off of Bristol Ferry
I
Road.
know where you live.
And every day get on Brown Lane, and every morning at 8:15 need to turn left or right at that intersection. And you are correct.
Mm.
I do like the fact that I complained about the fact it was going to the center lane. I think it has helped,
But it's a passing lane too.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
I can't get out.
but you're right. We do wait on Bristol Ferry a little bit. And I understand that. I do know that,
Places on Bristol Ferry. Not gonna get any better, you know that.
I get it,
I'm
but
way down yonder, I'm going
I get it.
to Brownell's Lane.
But you got a middle
Can't do it.
turning lane now.
What's that?
There's
Yeah,
a
an
middle
extra turning lane, yes.
So, you know,
and the problem is, in certain times, there's traffic studies that are done and whether, but if you were building an apartment complex and trying to put 30 units in here like we did, for instance, for the senior center with the 72 units, then there's traffic studies about how many cars each come out of people that are 70. If this is single family houses with 3 bedrooms and 4 kids generate X trips per day. As far as units go, if they are in fact occupied by the target audience, which is a high-end $800,000 unit without, that's 1 bedroom on the floor. I don't think these are gonna be young couples. I don't think it's gonna be, it's not barred from that, but it's generally not a tax. Well, but I know Oakland Farm condominiums, because my mother lives there. I lived there when I was building my house. And nobody with kids can live there because Mrs. Cratchit or Kravitz calls you and says you put the garbage out the wrong day, your kids are too loud, you have a dog that's not on a leash. You can't leave a sled, you can't leave a bicycle. Condos tend to be good neighbors. And the traffic patterns of me at this age is different than my traffic pattern at 35 and 40. And when you look at projects like this and you talk about what happens on Bristol Ferry, I'm not telling you Bristol Ferry is great. I know that. But the question is, what are the other uses? And is this a good use? It's zoned R20. They pay taxes on R20. They're entitled to build it out as R20. This is less innocuous or less obnoxious than many of the uses that you could try to do. That's one of the reasons this goal was here. There's a goal to put a lot of LMI houses in town, and this was a site that we designed for 16 LMI units and then pulled back that design and found a better spot for that and did this. So personally, everybody wants a field next to them, but for a field, I don't mind a condo might be in my top 5 of what else may be there. So lighting on all of these, other than the same lightings that are on your house with dark sky compliant and just lighting under porticos in this case, which you didn't have on the other one, and even under the garage door, they're going to be certainly not the type of issues that you would generally be designing against. If you need the make and models, which is not there yet, sometimes we come and we actually give you and say, hey, here's the, Edison 500, but we don't have that, but we are willing to go by any criteria, if you know how to word it, that's dark, was a word for it, other than dark sky compliance, but they're soft, everything scales with a soft light. They're all going to be designed to be a elder, low impact community.
Anybody else on your team would like to say something?
Well, I'm going to have him certainly go through with what he was tasked to do and how he accomplished that, because over there, I think it's pretty nice.
Hello, I'm Joe Fenton. Thanks for your time, board. I'll just give you a brief description since we're pretty much summed it all up already, but the program I was given was to design a high-end 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath property with the exterior form trying to draw from the vernacular design of the area using local materials, general form of the building, a gable style house, delineating the forms with lower pitched roofs in between to keep the forms nice and clean and simple, or to my understanding with accents of metal roof front entry porch, and also at the entry I was designed to try to keep the garage doors away from the front entrance, so it gave us a little bit more of a aesthetically pleasing from the road itself. They requested an open floor plan with having a vaulted space for the living, dining, and living kitchen areas, with the primary suite being on the first floor, for the goal for it to be age-in-place design, with an additional bedroom on the second floor over the garage. The entry was to the side coming off of the garage so that you're not walking right into your great room, with the lav off to the side so that you're not also guests aren't walking right into your living room after they use the facilities. So trying to think of things like that, but a nice generous sized kitchen with a walk-in closet and a primary suite. And other than that, let me see. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Also, a few other points where I was trying to design it to have maximum privacy and noise from the adjoining dwelling. So that secondary areas are what are the connections between the two units, i.e. the primary walk-in closets abut each other, and that's who, and then the living spaces in each dwelling have no shared walls with the other property. So it should be a quiet way to live. And other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have a question about what you just said. Your first floor. The living room.
Yeah.
About your neighbor's area or bathroom. With those,
Yeah,
You don't live in a bathroom room.
yeah, I view that as a secondary space. You're there to shower.
Well,
Yeah,
what you ate for that.
and there's a,
you're gonna make the walls.
oh yeah, there's a party wall is separated by, they're built by two different 2x4 structures with a 2-inch air gap that actually is insulated, sound bat I'm sorry, sound and fire retention on both sides and gypsum board in between. So that secondary space, there's something that has to touch with a duplex. I just try to make it so that a closet or a secondary bathroom that you're just showering in is the area that comes to mind instead of having a living room or a kitchen abut to another living room or kitchen.
Right, another question I have, and this just goes from personal experience, you have the garage and then you have a living area above the garage, not fully probably used all the time, but, you bring the car in, you shut the door, you got fumes. You envision any way to extract those other than leaving the door open?
Well, I wasn't planning on having an exhaust system in the garage itself. The heating system would not be connected in there to the rest of the house. The ventilation, I guess the garage door would be the one way to vent it. There's also windows in the garage on the backside.
And you a step down.
Yeah, that would meet code of.
Yeah.
Is it double 5/8 barcode?
Oh, yeah, the whole walls and ceiling of the garage would be 5/8 type X. So it'll be 1 hour.
Two layers.
It would be one layer of 5/8 type X gives you a 1 hour rating.
Right.
Yep.
Rockwool.
Yes. Thank you.
Do the board members have any questions? As
Trash provision, just everybody has their own trash can adjacent to the house or.
And I also thought, the garage was ample enough that, trash and recycling bins could be kept inside.
What are the garage doors again? What are they made of?
Well, I was showing an image of a natural finished wood or like a mahogany or a cedar. The company of what we would use would have to be priced out, of course. But if I would always lean towards trying to do natural materials.
Okay.
Same thing with the exterior structure of the covered entry and the covered front porch would be cedar timber construction.
Making the fake stuff look really good.
Oh, the garage doors, yeah.
And the problem is the condos, especially, a lot of the people that are in the market of condos are like, what's my fee going to be if I have to sand my red cedar clapboard
Yeah.
and have
Your
to paint my
assessments.
garage? And,
Yeah.
I mean, so you pay now, pay later. You can't go low end. Just can't sell them if they're low end.
Yeah.
So you gotta go high end, low maintenance.
So, and they're on
High
the side
maintenance.
too, so they're not really visible from the street as much, so,
Mhm.
no, I think it's good. You went over the finish schedule with us. All utilities underground?
Yes,
That's correct. Yeah. So,
yeah, I don't think you'll ever get by a technical review committee in this town again. with both gravity built out.
Mm,
You shouldn't, and
yeah, well,
I wish they'd take a ride down Davy Lane, and it looks like the back street of some Pakistan town.
unfortunately, you're a good hurricane from getting the money spent. on it.
oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that'd
they're
be
just
nice
gonna
if
put
those
it
would
back
go
up.
away.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I got no other comments, I think. I think the size and spacing seems pretty consistent with surrounding neighborhoods. You know, when you look at, like, just, well, here's a building distance from distance, it's pretty consistent. I like the fact that they're all back off the road, so you're not gonna have a great visual aspect of, other than, not gonna be a field anymore, but can't keep fields forever.
The
It's better
density
than
was
solar
very
panels.
low, actually. The
Yeah.
lot coverage was very low.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because they're allowed
yeah,
20%.
yeah, we didn't exceed that at all.
it's
Which would
gonna look-
allow 4,000.
Yeah, no, I think
coverage.
it's a nice layout, I think it looks good.
There's up on, it's either at the very edge of your property or it's on the very edge of the other people's property. Up in the corner, kind of behind the houses. Up there,
Farmhouse.
yeah, there's a splash. Is that yours?
That's the old, bond.
That- yeah.
That's already taken
That'll
out.
be removed.
That was
Yeah.
actually bond. Right
Okay.
there. Yeah, it's been, the slabs, no, the slabs are there.
It's slaps to the
Bond
That will-
slabs behind
that. Slabs there.
Yeah, right there, see the line?
It'll stay or go?
No, that's going.
That's going.
It's been removed. There was another driveway there that.
Yeah.
That I think the owner of that farmhouse wants to slide over a couple feet. It's like half on and half off.
Yeah, it's half on, half off.
Mhm.
yeah.
Are you guys gonna do a mailbox bank or is it gonna be individual?
I think the private road's gonna require
Mm.
a mailbox bank.
Bank.
I don't think they'll come in any other way and then I'll have to come in off-site.
I've seen it both ways,
Yeah.
but.
I was asking Tom in the beginning, but like all this is all drained, graded, drained into these
Underground
basins.
system, yeah.
But then like this, it's like 5 feet
Mhm.
on the backside, like going in this way, and I'm just worried about this, going into the neighbors, that's all, because I know how that easily could happen and.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just lawn area, right? So all of this impervious, so this is porous pavement,
Yeah,
so that's infiltrating itself, that has its own,
okay,
like, material below it to absorb that, and all these roofs are getting hard piped
okay,
into the underground system.
Pipe on,
Yeah,
on
perfect.
that.
We just
There's
need
gonna
to
be very
translate
little
that to your
impact
design.
to it.
Whatever gutter design we're gonna
Right.
have, everything's gonna be hard piped into our drainage system.
Okay, yeah.
okay.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's difficult for us to collect that, convey it,
Yeah,
then we would have flooding problems.
right.
Then you're gonna have all sorts of
Yeah.
big spaces.
And, again, this is another one where the state, because of it's more than 1 acre, so Ripley's stormwater, the engineers up at the state also reviewed this
Yeah.
as well. So it's a big thing.
So, I mean, I'm not one of the others. Why do you need the rain garden right by my property?
We're up at the entrance,
Yeah.
up at the front, well, just to capture that small section of runoff itself from the development.
The road.
And again, it's literally maybe this very subtle little, it's almost like a swale.
For no city water? from
No, it's gonna
124
drain,
hours?
no, it will drain within 72 hours. Yeah.
And if, see, I read that in 1824, is that mosquitoes?
This one will probably drain more than that, but the stormwater regulations, if it's ponding more than 72 hours, then there's something wrong with the substrate and the strata below it, so it's not designed for that.
The CFPIA hall has a rock garden that's very functional. That was put in when that was redeveloped.
Most of them drain within 6 to 12 hours. The ones I see, especially over here. So, and the soil is actually pretty decent. We did a lot of soil testing with the state. And to be honest, I mean, Mark was there as well digging, and And we know Portsmouth isn't known for their soils, right? But for some reason, again, I do a lot of soil testing, the soils are actually pretty sandy over here up at this half. I don't know why, but that's a good thing for drainage as well.
Yeah.
So it will drain fairly quickly.
And it's pretty high up on the island. It's not.
Yeah, it's dry. There's no water table, there's no wetland. Usually those basins that we design tend to sit for that duration itself, then they drain. So, but I foresee this draining a lot quicker than what's anticipated.
When you say that you're working on the state, you mean DEM?
That's correct. Yep.
And who's the next question?
I'm a landscape architect, but I didn't do this.
No, I know.
Oh,
I
okay.
guess I just have some questions because
Uh-huh.
the picture that Court showed a lot of green on my side, so south side of Bristol Ferry, but
Mhm.
most of that is scrub. And some of that are trees on my side.
I have some answers for you, and I'm about to go over
Oh,
landscaping.
I thought we
We
were
have-
there.
No,
Okay.
if, let me ask the board, any more questions on building materials, integrity of building, or am I okay to move to landscaping?
I think everyone's
Yeah.
good.
So first of all, my apologies, because Ashley, who designed this, could not be here. So she was kind enough to meet with here today to give me a 5-minute, 10-minute, 30-minute rundown, so I can give you a 5-minute rundown. And I'll probably bastardize it, but I will try.
Good.
And she also gave me some notes to cheat with. So she was tasked to try to keep the pastoral aesthetic view of it. The winding road is there. She read the ordinance. She looked at all the tree selection, tried to use your native trees, specifically with some, because I live in the area with some deer. Worrying about some, at least,
Yeah.
if not deer resistant,
Mhm.
subject to not being the candy. So what she did was she put the four, the biggest trees, and you can see from the scale on the front, that she started with the 4 trees, which are the red maples along Bristol Ferry Road. Notice that the stone wall is there. Obviously, thou shalt not take down stone walls, but in this case, thou shalt rebuild the stone walls. So they'll be restacked, not to look like a Carnegie, well, to look like the Carnegie Golf Course maybe as a maintained stone wall, not to look like somebody, hired someone.
Piled a bunch up together.
Yeah, but not also to make it look more pristine than it is, but to keep the natural integrity of a farm stone wall,
Mhm.
just substantially better stacked than it is today. There's the 4 big red maples, I think, that are there in front of that. Then the winding road is either the
Sycamore.
London plane tree or the tubelos, which I think is right. So all pretty easy growing, fairly large trees that will give that and frame that road and give it shade. We can go around all the buildings, not a lot of detail there, except you'll see that there's 405 plants scheduled for the foundations. The exact locations of those foundations depends on the doors and who has patios, but there's a budget with the approved listing that's on your table from hydrangeas and all of the typical plants that are on your list for the foundation type plantings for height. The area around the outside completely maintained with basically every tree that we can keep, we're gonna keep. Certainly if there was a diseased tree, she didn't really seem to find any. She identified the trees to be removed. What she said to me was that she erred on the side of caution. There's obvious trees to be removed that are right in the middle of the driveway, but there's only 2 of those because everything else seems to be on the perimeter.
Mhm.
But there are 6 or 7 trees that I count that are maybe 10 or 15 feet from the wall. They will be maintained if they can be maintained. In certain cases, over by like where the galley drainage system is, there's rules on, we don't want those trees and roots too close to get in and do damage. So she had a belief that none of those trees should be within 5 or 10 feet of the edge. And some of those trees that were 15, 20 feet off the border were removed, while everything within 10 feet of the border basically stayed. But there are a couple of trees that are identified that need to be removed. So when it came up at the meeting, there was, if you really look from Bristol Ferry Road to the jog, there are very few trees to be remaining because that entire area, as Deb said, is a lot of scrub stuff. And that's why there is a full planting list there. Mainly those are JB6s, which I believe are the eastern red cedars. There's a lot, the red cedars and the TV3s, which I believe are the western red cedars. So that borderline is basically pretty dense. Now, there was a large area. If you start at Bristol Ferry Road and you come in, you see where the budding property, existing dwelling and existing garage. The first one you see coming off Bristol Ferry Road, south of the project. Well, that's
Oh,
Deb's
yeah.
house.
Yeah.
And if you look right behind Deb's house, there's a gap there where there are no trees.
Yeah.
I think it might have been her design without attending the meeting of the neighbors, that because of the distance it was to any building, some of the view of the green area would be nice. Deb has suggested that she may want
Building.
trees there, and we've been authorized to authorize those trees,
Yeah.
including you, to meet with our landscape architect to see that, but we would fill in either those red cedars or, now, there was also, it might be where you want them placed, depending on where your windows are, because they could extend a little bit to the west from where the gap opens, block a view of that building, yet leave some of that gap below, which would only allow you to look through to that farmhouse that you liked and the green area. So we are committed to the budget of this many trees and a few extra for you, but we could adjust them. We don't climb into your porch and see exactly where you might want them, but we're willing to send her over there with you to close that gap.
Have you any invasives in that?
Well, the bamboo is there as well. And that bamboo is, I don't know where it is. Deb thinks it might have been planted by these guys. These guys think it might be planted by a predecessor over there, but it's invasive and it doesn't like walls.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I know, nobody here planted that.
Yeah.
It's just when I moved there almost 11 years ago, where I now have bamboo, we had an inflatable pool. So it has encroached on my property, it's encroached on Ed Ferrera and Ashley Ferrera, who are,
Any knotweed?
what is it?
Have you knotweed?
I don't know what that means, so probably not.
Okay, it's a good thing.
I pull it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does nothing.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, that's my.
You're lucky you don't have any.
But
Yeah,
she
it's
said it
helpful.
was a futile attempt to try to remove it from your own property when it's on your neighbors,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
just coming back.
Right.
So we're committed to getting rid of it on ours, and that'll help. And when, to the extent that that looks like a mature fence, because it does, and it's gone, when we remove it, it comes with a replanting in that area based on your view corridor, okay?
Okay, and there's no option to maybe get some plantings that are faster growing, and to be honest, I don't know what these codes mean for the different plants, would there be?
They're called down.
Yeah, I mean, those are evergreen trees there, those dark green ones, I mean, the dark,
Yeah, okay,
I think the dark circled are
Yeah.
red cedars and the
and then there's like arborvitae's, so.
oh, those are.
Yeah.
Really quickly. So.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
arborvitae's
Okay.
and junipers, and you can get them pretty big, cheap, so.
As long as that's going to happen, because if, each building, which can take 8 months, and it's over the course of 4 years, that's 4 years of construction going by my house. So I would like to not have to
Well,
see it,
the
and
other,
maybe a little sound barrier as well.
the other thing that came up, because we did have a meeting, and that doesn't mean that everybody likes us, but we tried to have a meeting. And there was a very good point that was brought up, and that is that you're allowed to make recommendations on when things happen. And if it takes 2 years to build buildings, and then after the building permits come in, you plant trees that are, 5 feet at the ball and 4 feet apart, then it's 3 years of relief. Do it first when we do the infrastructure, and we represented that we would agree that the border plantings went in first. So that
Mhm.
you really gain a year and a half, and
Yeah,
my experience with those trees is they don't grow the first year, and
no.
they grow 6
Takes
inches
like
the
2
second
years
year,
to
and they grow
get
3
going.
feet to 30.
Right.
You know, they just take
Yeah.
off,
Mhm.
and the sooner you get them, and because there's good soils.
Yeah,
We
really good.
expect, sometimes
Not
we
bad.
put
Yeah.
these in and it turns out we put them in
Okay.
silt, and 20 years later, they're still 8 feet.
Portsmouth is great for all. Okay.
When you're constructing the building and digging the holes for the foundations and what, you're gonna have a lot of excess dirt. Will that remain on the site and be covered, or is that to be transferred?
I
That's
think
all
that's the way
Mark-
Michael is,
Mark's the
when we
developer,
start
he
cutting
does
that road in, to haul it out at the same time, the material.
Okay,
It
'cause
doesn't make sense to stack it, move it, stack it.
Just in your
Move it,
way.
it's always in the
Move it
way.
3 times.
So it
I'm
makes
just
no
thinking
sense.
about the neighbors in the summertime.
Yeah.
We got plenty, when we
When the
pick that
plow
up,
dries out,
pitch we
no
gotta put
wind
in,
starts blowing.
the digging up the foundations.
Yeah, that's what I mean,
Right.
so.
So as we-
After, when I
the-
throw that, we have to be topsoil.
Whatever we can use for topsoil, we're gonna keep,
The
whatever's
topsoil.
gonna, is that we put the road in,
Yeah.
we're gonna keep some, but it's not gonna be big piles of
I
it.
know.
We're going to the next house, to the next house, to the next house.
All right.
Is there anything more on landscaping?
So in your opinion, these are fast growing?
Yeah, I
And they're
mean,
the best?
the arborvitae's and the junipers, they grow like, I mean, they're not like super fast, like Leyland cypress are super fast, but I mean, these are like better. I feel like they're better trees.
They're better quality, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Almost every place that we recommend some sort of screening, and you can see all over town, has been arborvitae's.
Okay.
I don't know
Well,
if
I
they're
have some.
cause,
Yeah.
yeah, cause they grow, like, I feel like you can get decent sized ones, like they've got the 7/8 for the junipers. I don't know, what was the yard called? Yeah, so yeah, 8 to 9 feet, so they're already like big.
Yeah, we didn't buy.
Start.
Yeah.
Oh, I,
We've all
Yeah.
played,
Yeah.
we've all played
Yeah.
what I call the Ann and Hope gallon bucket,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, I can't.
20
test.
for $100.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you could sneak-
Oh, I know, yeah.
you could sneak out in front line.
Oh, I might do that. Call my friends, the developers.
What is the road going to be made of going in?
Is Ports now?
It's porous,
Yeah.
pavement. Yep,
But it is paved.
it's big.
We
That's all.
technically don't have a provision in Portsmouth for dirt roads.
Mm.
They do in the conservation district in Tiverton, they do in Little Compton is.
Yeah.
We don't touch roads, so we don't care what you build about it. But for the most part, there's no provision.
So it's just gonna be a binder on the road?
No,
No,
that's,
no,
it looks like a modified, it's
Yeah.
not binder, but it's not finish.
All right,
It's
not
like in
finished.
between, what you look at. It's porous pavement, so it has to have some voids in it to
Gotcha.
soak up
Okay.
like a sponge.
All right,
But also too, the fire department mandates paved roads as well, so
okay.
it's dichotomy
Yeah.
we deal with drainage,
Yeah.
environmental,
Gotcha.
engineering, and fire department requirements, so.
And not that it matters much to the neighbors, but everything's to town spec. So even though it's a private road, doesn't mean you can take your bulldozer out, put 2 inches of gravel down and call it a road.
Gotcha.
It all has to be built the same specs as if this was a
Mhm.
publicly accepted and
Will that be
dedicated
done
road.
on front so they don't get a lot of dust?
Mm-mm.
No,
Oh, no,
no.
no.
That's the
It'll be
last thing to
gravel
do.
for the construction,
Cause it'll just be a
Okay,
mess.
so they're gonna
unless
have to
they get it
maintain
all
dust
in there
control by
over the
either putting
course.
calcium chloride or get a water truck in, those are the two, dust control measures.
So there's actually a maintenance schedule for the porous materials so
Mhm.
that it maintains its integrity as
Mhm.
pervious.
And
And
Cause
you've
if
got
they
to
put that in
vacuum
first,
out,
they're gonna
clean
soak
it
it up
out.
and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
gonna,
We'll go down to the senior center and ask, East Coast how to keep dust down, cause they don't know how.
Mhm.
no,
That's it.
I see that while I'm waiting to pull out on Bristol Ferry. Road. But
Far like now.
it's worse in the summer. The fact that that's being built now is a win.
Yeah.
It's the hot summer that really makes
Yeah.
that stuff
Oh, yeah.
scary.
it was a dry fall too.
Yeah.
The accent on the
Farmers brutal.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
there any other abutters that are interested parties? Is there anything online, Leah, which I doubt?
Nobody's online.
Online, anybody in the audience?
I don't know, what I'm answering my questions.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's good.
Planning board Thursday night, right? So you need our opinion. Like, soon.
Right.
Soon.
Yes, and again, my apologies on that, but I will tell you that if you are comfortable and it's a preparation thing and you don't get it done, if you tell Leah is pretty good, especially if they didn't have any problems except this. That will get relayed. We've done that in the past, because I find me preparing to write what I need to write and me getting it written or what the time problem is. I could tell you what I was writing in a day or two. It's,
No, I think,
if that's easier for you.
have they addressed all the landscaping issues that you?
Yeah, there weren't really any problems. with that.
Material, signage, lighting, they've addressed, I mean.
They've
these
addressed
are
all the,
our
all
key-
questions I had,
Yeah.
which is unusual.
Yeah, I think,
We followed the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Like anybody else.
Unlike some of you.
Okay.
I wanna hear.
Yeah, I'll sign it by later.
So one of me follows the list.
yeah,
No, it looks like a nice
we'll
little.
get something out as soon as quick. Court, so you'd be ready
Okay.
for Thursday.
Thank you, and I'll try to get you the other stuff in as much time without
Yeah,
inconvenience. I'll also.
I think you know where we're coming from.
I do, I know exactly, and
Yeah.
I know where they're coming from on trying to start, and if I can. Because you're not gonna change the location of the building and the size, it's
No,
all
it's
about
not.
other things.
Right.
So if time becomes of the essence, there are things like foundation permits that allow you to move forward that are still subject to design review, you know,
Yeah.
so we're not gonna make you. I appreciate your offering, but we're not gonna make you jump crazy hoops to get a quorum. We'll just get the materials and see where.
Do you want a copy of the checklist too?
I filed one of these, can you get me one?
Exposure. Oh, no, this
No,
one,
no.
oh, no, there was no one.
Yeah, the other one I'm not.
And once he shows the gutter
Sometimes your
design,
mouthpiece.
I mean, that's the only other
Yeah.
thing that was.
I know.
Sometimes you're a coworker.
Yeah, the only consistent thing is you and me.
Yeah,
Right, that,
that's the only one.
engineer, lawyer.
That's all there is for tonight, we're adjourned. And we'll work on that.
Well, thank you, everyone.
I'll send you my notes, Leslie.
Yeah.
There's really not much to say. No. I'm just gonna wait.
Tell David it's.
Yeah, I know. You guys are willing to let town council meeting, did you? The height of the wind, the wind.
Energy now. Pretty responsible. But I'm doing.
And go beyond.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
A lot of it's.
You've been pretty good with us on that.
The new counselors, it's like.
National Grid is always slow.
Like,
They're always.
They are, but, you know, you just gotta get with them sooner rather than later.
And they already cut it into a month off, so
Yeah, yeah.
it was bad.
You gotta get the architect to do a lot of other things.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
The roads, the demand, everything else, right? So, you know, what they need for town.
It's pipeline.
It's awful, right?
Had to come out.
I've had projects in Massachusetts where it's like you get no response. I had a project in Malden, a 100,000 square foot building that had a pole
So.
that had to be
There was
relocated
really no choice.
on the entrance and exit.
Mhm.
I mean,
And
it's-
you can't get in and out.
it's on both farms. I
It took
mean,
a year.
A
A year and 4 months. We had finished paving everything.
Like the last thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Or get transformers from them. But Russ promises you the world. We'll see.
Okay, all right,
all right. Thank you. All right, thanks. Thank you. Have a good night.
There'll be some digging, but, and then the section on Anthony Road, that's open cut. So we digging along there. They're like 3 feet or whatever. But yeah. I mean,
I know, yes.
still get complaints about the salt shed at Anthony Road. Nick's shaking his head.
So Frank, I emailed you my comments, so you have them all.
Okay, perfect.
So this one, I have no problem with.
Yeah, this one.
The other one was a complete shit
Yeah.
show.
Right.
Like, there's, it was like, it's so trying to circumvent the system. It's like, planning board approved this. It's just,
Yeah.
we're just coming here as courtesy to you guys.
I think
Like he hated it.
Court was shooting it. Snake. Yeah, it's taking a long time, but it's not even close. Yeah.
Like, just, we don't need to go around.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, you must have read that. Right?
Yeah.
Like.
said like 2 out of the 3.
Yeah, there's a move for anything.
You're gonna come to.
Right.
My buddy.
Yeah, I'm like-
I told him.
Yeah.
Bill, thanks for putting together those comments. It was a lot of our heads, but none of us had the time to write it down.
I'm lighting every day.
This was for.
There's a lot of lighting every day.
Yeah.
Some bad.
Yeah.
Supposed to go in and test it.
Alright, very good. Alright, take care, get rid of your hood.
Yeah, you're doing great job. So, yeah, put the doors to the side, we passed the test.
Next time they come.
I would like to shut the lights off of it.
You get a copy of the.
I would have fallen asleep.
You can have mine.
I might take.
Otherwise they just go in the recycling.
Yeah.
We sent everybody electronic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I got the.
But-
I got the data.
Okay,